So here we are, back again for part 2 of Conversations with Cheese and the Tugboat, Halloweeg edition.
Conversation
with Cheese and the Tugboat. Why was that scary? I don't know.
No, but for those of you who probably recognize that was the wonderful theme song from Are You Afraid of the Dark, and had several things from what we talked about in our last podcast, like little kids giggling, terrifying, clown, little porcelain clown toy up in the attic, which is the creepiest place in the house by far.
Easily.
And then there was just like a boat with a couple oars in it, just shaking back and forth in the water, just teetering back and forth creepily in the dark.
Those swings didn't make me feel very good either.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Swings just swinging on their own when there's, like, quite little wind. Even if there's a lot of wind, you're like, no, little kid swinging. Definitely goes.
How about swings that are swinging when there's no wind and then just stop suddenly? Oh, my God.
Apple?
I need my knife. Because I'm going to try and stab a ghost.
It won't work. Goes right through the ectoplasm.
You don't know that. No one's proved it.
So, to start it off, for the admitted approval of the Midnight Society, we would like to talk about some of our favorite episodes of Are You Afraid of the Dark / Goosebumps, which were also books, probably more prevalently books that made into a TV show because the books were so popular. But Tugboat isn't too familiar with Are You Afraid of the Dark. He just knows that the intro is terrifying.
I've watched a few of them, but I wasn't an avid viewer.
Yeah, so like I have my list. I have my list of you can go with like a top 3 here. And one of them is extremely ghost driven, and this one was this hide and go seek in the graveyard. And so like these 2 kids move into a new town, brothers, and they're just kind of bored, like trying to make some friends or whatever. And then these 2 kids come over and they're like, "Hey, you kids new to the town?" And they're like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh, you want to meet with us at midnight in the graveyard to play some hide and seek or some manhunt or whatever?" And they're like, "I don't know, that's pretty scary." And they're like, "Oh, come on, don't be like chickens." So after like much deliberation, they like go and they just like they play with these kids, and they're like hiding in the grave sites, and they're like, and it's all like scary, but all in good fun. They're like, "Yeah, we made some friends. This is fantastic." And then eventually, what ends up happening is they kind of like, the one girl is like, "Get out of my grave," and it's like, "Oh," kind of like, "I don't see your name on it," or something. "I didn't know this was your grave." And then like looks at the gravestone, and it's like that person, and it's like all the kids that they've been playing hide and go seek with were all dead. And that was extremely terrifying for me. Just that, like, you're just playing with these kids, and you're like, "Oh man, they're just like normal kids, and they're ghosts."
Get out of my grave.
Yeah. Needless to say, I never made any new friends from that point
on. That's a scary one. I don't like that at all. That just sounds scary for no reason.
Yeah. And then there is another one. It's very, like, common, but they, like, moved into this new place. And it's always, like, they're always moving. Like, basically, if you move, terrifying things will happen. Don't move. Nobody move.
When I moved into a house that was brand new.
Yeah, see, that's good. The only thing you have to worry about there is if, like, it was built on top of a grave site or an Indian burial ground or something like that.
It's not. I read the history. It's not. Good to go. That's what realtors are for. Why realtors help. Ba, ba, ba.
That is the commercial that they need to do.
Make people listen to 2 hours of our podcast and then say, "That's how realtors help."
Pretty much. Just basically say that you don't get a realtor, your house will definitely be haunted, and it will ruin your life. You'll get one of those, like, clingy ghosts that we talked about in our last podcast that, like, just, like, follows you around everywhere you go, like a poltergeist.
Full-on GJ machine.
Exactly.
Wait, how's
so,
that
like,
bad?
I don't know. So then they, just, like, too much of it, maybe. I don't know. And then, so they move into this, like, new place and stuff, and, they go into this one room or whatever, and, like, all the walls are blank and stuff, and they're like, oh, we should just, like, move some stuff into this room. But they don't or something, and then all of a sudden they just start hearing noises from the room, so they go inside, and, like, all over the walls are just, like, written on the walls in, like, crayon or something, and it's just, like, a little boy standing there, and it says, like, Slam or something like that, and you're like, what? What does that mean? And then, you, like, look in the mirror, and it says, like, it's written, like, help me, and it's this little boy that needs help and stuff, and then they get, like, sucked into the mirror and go into, like, the other side to when this boy was basically, like, murdered or something, and then they have to, like, solve the murder or something, or end up helping the boy, figuring out that it was, like, help me, and then they save him, and everything's cool, but that was friggin', like, getting pulled into a mirror, and you're in, like, this alternate reality or something, super terrifying.
I feel like that's just more adventurous than... You just have to go with it. Like, you don't have a choice. You can't run away because you're in the mirror. I feel like it'd be scarier. No, it's pretty scary, but still, I feel like you just have to help because you have no other choice. Like, well, I'm in here. I guess I got to do this. Whereas if it had not gotten pulled into the mirror and it just stopped with the little boy like writing red rum on the door and stuff, you'd be like, that would be horrifying.
Yeah. No, that's true. That was pretty horrifying. I think it's pretty admirable that you would, like, be all up to the challenge and stuff. You're all terrified. But you're like, no, I'm going to figure this out, and I'm going to save this boy, and then maybe I'll get to go on the other side of the mirror.
What if you didn't? What if you saved him and he got out and you had to stay in there in his place?
Yeah, like, if that, like, boy was actually, like, just this super evil, murderous child, or a demon in disguise, and he, like, tricked you into, like, murdering the good person who ended it all.
Like Damien?
Yeah.
That was a messed up movie. The latest Omen with Liev Schreiber. That's scary.
I'll have to check that out. You seem to watch way more horror films than I.
My former associates, Dave and Brown, were super into it, so they would drag me along, and like deals were made. When they wanted to go watch the new Exorcist: The Beginnings movie at the theater, I was the only one with a vehicle, so I had to drive, and I had no intention of going. I said, I'm not just going to sit in the truck for 2 hours. And they said, just come in. It can't be that scary, you dummy. So I went in, and I said, if I go into this theater and watch this film, one of you, if necessary, has to promise to sleep on the futon in my bedroom for the night. So Dave had to sleep on the futon in my room because it was way too scary.
It's a pretty good deal, though. I think, like, if you're going to see that scary movie and you stay out in the truck, you're obviously going to get haunted in your truck as punishment for not manning up and going to see the movie.
Haunted by a ghost or your own thoughts imagining what's going on in the movie, which is probably infinitely worse.
Way worse.
Well, not that much worse in this case, because frig, it was scary.
Yeah. You're kind of like, how did people even think of that disturbing shit?
No, it's all like the generic repackaged stuff, but it's in Africa, which is creepy in itself because it has all like the voodoo and other business that goes on there that I don't understand and probably fear. But yeah. Anyways, you said you wanted to do top 3. Let's do your other one before we start talking about movies.
Yes. The number 1, and this one was by far the most terrifying for me as a kid, was there were these twins. And again, they had to move because the one twin basically got killed, like burned up in a fire, but it was because of this ghost that she got burned up in the fire. So what she did is she found this like book on the occult or something, and there was one of them that she wanted to try, and it was called Quicksilver. And you had to draw a chalk doorway on the wall, and then I think put like a Q on it or something, and just say, I think you had to say like Quicksilver 3 times, just kind of like a whatever. What was that thing where you say it 3 times?
Bloody Mary.
Yeah, so you do that, and then this like super old man comes out with scraggly hair, basically like kind of like an older, deader version of Freak Show from Harold and Kumar. And he comes out.
Not like a Gandalf the Grey?
Yeah, and then kind of, but like, wait, no, you're going to hate this reference, but he looks like the guy in Harry Potter who lives at Hogwarts and gets everybody in trouble and stuff. I can't remember his name. He has a cat. So he looks like that, and he comes out, and when he comes out, you have this, you're supposed to have like a something made of silver, and start chanting these words, and they will go back into the doorway and be vanished forever. I don't really understand why they would summon this person anyway if they don't have to. Like, it's kind of weird.
How is that beneficial, anyways?
Unless they were just naturally haunted by this guy and they were bringing him out and trying to send him back so they'd never bother him again. I'm not sure.
Is there a purpose to try and bring the dead twin back or something?
Yeah, so like a candle there. She's doing this all by candlelight.
Naturally.
And it's made of silver. So then she like does it and it doesn't work for whatever reason. She gets burnt up in this building and then they move. And then like this new person like comes along, like they become friends and they're like, oh, what happened to your sister? It's like, oh yeah, she burned because of this thing. And they were like, okay, well then let's try and do it so we can get rid of this guy and like avenge the sister's death kind of thing. Little interesting tidbit, the girl in the movie that died who has the twin is Tatiana Ali, otherwise known as Ashley from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah.
So that's worth it in itself. But so they go and they do it. They like figure out what to do, and they draw a chalk line, and they send this person out, and they're like saying the summoning thing, and it's like, it's not working, and they're all like freaking out, and they're going to get murdered by this old man. And then they realize that the thing that they were using for silver was a stainless steel spoon. So it wasn't silver, and they thought it was silver because they're idiots. And then the guy that made friends with this girl had like a necklace that was made of silver around his neck, of course.
Yeah.
And they attached that to it, and they started doing it, and then they like vanished. It was successful, and they banished this ghost back. But then the ghost of the twin came out and was just like, didn't say a word, but was just kind of like, thank you or whatever. And then it was all awesome. So I just thought it was terrifying because like the initial part when she failed, because just imagine like you summon a ghost, like you're trying to banish this person, this is your choice, and then you just like mess it up because you're too stupid to know that like the stainless steel spoon isn't silver, and then you die.
That would be a stupid way to go. What a waste.
Yep.
It's very disappointing to me.
The moral of the story is know that spoons are typically made of stainless steel.
Well, yeah, silver is incredibly expensive, especially in today's market, but
nobody has that stuff anymore. Those are my top 3. Clearly, all of them have the theme of moving, and all of them have the theme of basically ghosts because somebody died and stuff. I guess is the definition of a ghost. So
I think the graveyard one's probably the scariest of the 3, based on your descriptions. Just it's so unexpected, and it's not like, you know, the other 2 seem to have a happier ending and a positive kind of outcome, where the other one just like, we just hung out with ghost kids.
Yeah, and that was like that one definitely did, because like I think as a kid, and even like I think that one's actually slightly plausible. Like, I think that one actually, like, could definitely exist.
I don't like it. I don't like to think like that. But yeah, it's just unexpected, and it's just, wow, I don't know. When I watch shows like that, I'm always looking for the angle or trying to guess the next thing that they're gonna do.
Yeah.
Which is why a show like, or not a show, but the film Paranormal Activity, which I referenced in the last one and finally got the nerve up to watch, was so scary because you didn't know what was going to happen next. You didn't know, even though I had the film detailedly described to me one midnight. She probably doesn't listen to this, but little shits. So I kind of knew what was going to go on, and I kind of knew the general plot, which it was so edited by the channel that it was on that it was kind of a different movie. But yeah, it was hella scary. You didn't know
what made it scary, Chase?
the plausibility of it. Like, it could happen to anyone. All of a sudden, a kid comes in and can see a ghost, and just like the stuff that goes on, you don't know what's going on while you're asleep, and like all the stuff that happened could happen. So then you start thinking like, oh man, is that going on in my place? And then also the unpredictability of it, like, you know, a lot of the shots are allegedly from a camera that's just kind of set up and standing there, and every time it shows a different room, you're like, oh shit, what's going to happen now? And like a door will close, or like stuff will fly out from behind the camera, and it is horrifyingly well done.
Yeah, I think the thing that they did by far the best was they had so many scenes that were just nothing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, thing little would happen, but it would just be like not super scary. It's just super subtle. It's like something's there, but it's not really making its presence super known.
Or there's something like, there was one scene where it just like showed the wife sleeping, and then it would cut to the husband upstairs, and there was like stuff happening upstairs, like light bulbs were exploding, or I don't know, the daughter was talking about, he's like, why are you awake? And she's like, oh, I was talking to my friend, and going on about this, and then it shows the wife, and then it like goes back, and then it shows the wife again, and then like the third time it shows the wife, you notice the bedroom door is slowly starting to close, and then it like locks, and then she hears a huge noise in the bathroom. You're like, oh my god, oh my god.
Oh yeah.
It's scary, and the worst part was when I went and picked them up from the movie theater, they told me it was based on a true story and that the girl's body was never found. So I tried to go to sleep that night unsuccessfully, and then go to my office in the morning and find out that, oh no, wait, it was just a movie and they were all actors. And it wasn't some videotape that was found in their home after. But when it was real, it was infinitely more scary. So I think for me, anything that's kind of based in reality and then tells you that it's true is just the worst.
Yeah, and it's always based on true events, so like they could twist that pretty far, but even so, the impact that based on true events has on like the scary level of a film is just like exponential.
You have like based on actual events is like, okay, well, this is like, you know, pretty close to what happened. Then you have ones that are inspired by true events, which can be totally off, like nowhere close to what actually happened.
Yeah, so it could be like something as really super vague as like a woman's body was never found, and then all of a sudden it's like you have this entire movie about how this could have happened, and it's all ghost related. Like,
or like a trilogy of scary movies. So what? We're into movies now. So what are your scariest movies? Like a top three. If you don't have them off the top of your head, I've got my three ready to go.
Yeah, you go with your three, because like a lot of my scary, like I haven't seen that many scary movies in my lifetime, but I have some ones that I was that scared me as a kid. That they, you know. But you go first.
So, honorable mention is probably The Ring. First time we watched it was in our res room because Mike Ward and his girlfriend had gone to see it in the theater, and it affected him so deeply that he was having trouble sleeping.
Yeah.
So he rented it, and the plan was to watch it with us, thinking that the commentary that I would inevitably provide, because I'm a jerk like that, would kind of, make it less scary for him, make it more, make him realize it's just a movie.
Yeah.
So we told the RA that we're going to watch The Ring, that new scary movie that just came out because we're old. And he was like, oh, okay. So he listened at the door for the movie to start, and then he looked up online when the thing happens, like when they watch the movie within the movie. And at that point, he phoned the room, and it just happened that he timed it absolutely perfect. So as soon as the phone rang in the movie, the phone rang in the room. And Dave and I humorously had blacked out all the windows and turned off all the lights and insisted that we watch it in complete darkness, even though it was like 7 o'clock and kind of still light out.
What an ass.
So poor little Mike Ward, as soon as that phone rang at the same time, like the exact second it rang in the movie, it rang in the room. He just like, and yelled and turned on the light. He's like, oh no, and just had a total weird comical freak out. And and then he answered the phone for some reason, and the RA just said 7 days. And he just started swearing and threw the phone on the ground and ran out of the room. It was pretty tremendous.
Oh, man. And
So,
those, like, res room, like, ringtones, unless you change them or whatever, like, they're terrifying. Like, they are very...
it's the classic phone ring. Just the... So, anyways, that's my honorable mention. Number 3, we've already talked about The Exorcist: The Beginnings. Dave had to sleep in my room after we watched it in the theater. I wasn't joking either. That was real. That needed to happen because I would not have slept. I would have had the light on all night with music going and the TV going until I passed out from sheer exhaustion. Number 2 is probably The Exorcism of Emily Rose. And I can only bring myself to watch that about every 5 years or so. And it's usually some jerk like you that's never seen it is like, oh yeah, let's watch it. And then I watch it with them, and we watch it in the dark, and then we're both super scared after. So I don't know if that's me inviting you over to watch it, but someday I think that you should view it in the proper setting.
I have never seen it.
Watch the trailer. It'll scare the piss right out of you.
Yeah.
And then I think Paranormal Activity probably tops the list just because of how real it could be.
Yeah.
And it was blowing my mind. And when I watched it, I just kind of changed my thought process to be more perverse. Like, oh man, that ghost is totally going to bang that mom, Oh yeah, look at him trying to bang her. Oh, he's gonna hand blast that babysitter. All right, to try and make it less scary. But it just blew my mind that these two guys are watching this stuff happen on the film, and they're just like, "Oh man, we should figure this out." Like, oh, it seems like there's a ghost in the house or something. Oh, there's all kinds of weird stuff happening. What do you think's going on? One thing happens, out. I'm out. Living in a hotel with my house for sale, without question.
Oh, hotels are infinitely more terrifying than anywhere you live.
Yeah, that's another honorable mention is probably the film 1408 starring John Cusack. And it creeps me out, and sometimes when I'm at work after dark or in my truck, you start to think about, in that movie, all this stuff, crazy stuff, like a whole different world is happening in that room, and in the hallway it's just totally calm, and you can't hear anything, no yelling or screaming or anything. So that's kind of a scary concept that, you could be panicked and yelling for help, and just a wooden door is there, and no one can hear you.
Yeah.
So
I think that no one can hear you is no one can hear you or no one sees you. Those are the two.
Yeah, like you're isolated in some way against your wishes. That is a scary thing.
Big time. That's pretty solid top three there. You just got basically some possession stuff and some potential possession / ghost things. I think from the Paranormal Activity kind of makes mine because it's one of the more recent ones that I can really even remember watching, and I watched it by myself in the dark after midnight, like an idiot.
That is a stupid move.
Super stupid move, but I liked it just because, again, there were so many of those scenes with the nothing, just little things, and you remember from last podcast I said if you can't see the ghost, that's way more scary for me than probably when I can see the ghost. So it's just it had that element to it, and it had that Ouija part at the bottom where it was just on fire and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that was the part that really got me into it, really kind of starting to get pretty scared. I don't know why. It just
it's the unknown, man.
Didn't expect it, and I hate that kind of stuff. Even there's that new Ouija movie coming out that looks super campy and cheesy, but if I saw that, I bet you I would be extremely terrified.
Yeah, even though the Evil Dead movies eventually got campier and campier as they did them, but they were still kind of. Well, the third one obviously was a joke, but the first two were kind of scary.
Yeah.
Those were fun movies, cult classics.
I liked The Shining. Just it's more of a thriller kind of thing, but I like the twist that they had on the end. Was probably my favorite part. Big time, and there were some pretty. I think the part where they go into that one room, and then there's just some dead people in the bathtub or something like that was pretty messed up. And again, the little kid with his whole "he's not here, Mrs. Torrance," blah, 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 blah. That was Tony. He was terrifying, even though he was a good thing. But again, that was just better thriller. I don't think I was terrified. It was just a good movie.
Yeah.
The ones that I had nightmares of, and again, these are me watching them as a kid like an idiot, was the movie Congo, which had killer gorillas. They're going out in the rain, and they get to this lake, and they realize that if they swim underwater, they can get to this other side. And so they do that, obviously. Oh, uncharted territory. Let's find and explore all this stuff. And then there's this sort of ancient, I think ancient sort of a Mayan type temple civilization thing.
But African.
Yeah. So they're there and they're exploring it and trying to figure out, oh, what's this all about? Did a king live here and stuff? But basically the thing is inhabited by all these super evil demonic gorillas or something. Which sounds kind of cheesy, but
no,
I remember
I've seen it. It was more thrillery, but it was pretty scary.
Yeah, well, I was I think 8 or 9 at the time, so I was pretty young, and I just remember actually even falling asleep during the movie. But then the stuff I was watching in the movie really made its way into my dreams.
Yeah, that's not good.
Basically, I was getting murdered by killer gorillas and stuff. So that actually, that gave me the most, probably prolonged nightmares. And then the other one was Tremors, which again is a super, campy type movie. And if you watch it now, it just seems absolutely ridiculous. But it was super scary for me growing up. Just basically. You know, you play those games when you're a kid, lava or don't touch the ground, basically.
Right.
It was like that, but in a movie. So it's you got all these things that are underground that can feel your footsteps and stuff, and they just go up from under you and then just eat you and stuff. So for me, that was just terrifying. It just basically makes you not want to walk on sand or anything for a really prolonged period of time. Those aren't specifically horror movies, or again, like all more thriller kind of stuff. But those are the ones that got me for sure.
I had a couple. One was when I was a kid. I snuck out of my bedroom at night. It was dark, so I was able to sneak around to the other side of kind of the opening to the living room, and I crawled under the kitchen table and was like propped up on my elbows, and my parents were watching Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
And I watched that movie when I was like 7. Not good. I was pretty scared, and my parents discovered me like before the end, because I think I was like, ah! And they were like, "Hey, get out of there!" Put me back in my room. And then the other one, and I'm sure other people can relate to this, but and it wasn't necessarily the content, although the content was pretty creepy, but the show Unsolved Mysteries.
Okay.
That theme song to this day puts chills down my spine. With Robert Stack, and they would always be like girls getting raped or murdered, and like, the killer's still out there. If you know anything about this case, call in. And then they did like some kind of rescue something with William Shatner, like a spin-off afterwards. Yeah. It wasn't as good. But that show, the theme song of that just creeps me right out.
Yeah.
Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah, all those things like with, like the things that are actually existing, or the serial killer stuff. That's pretty messy.
Yeah. So do we all like? This is kind of goes back to the alien thing that we've never talked about. But if so many people independently see it, and everyone has ghost stories, and like. Last time we talked about my colleague that has little kids that walk across the floor upstairs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
How are people still able to say they don't believe in ghosts and deny it?
Yeah, that gets me like quite a bit, because when there's like so many people that have those stories, like, and like they're like, everybody kind of knows somebody who has like their first person experience of it, and you're just like, why would this person make this up, or like, why would they lie to me? And like, I know this person's like a sane person, and they hear this kind of stuff, and you just kind of go, okay, like you basically have to take their word for it almost, and it just it makes me think that it definitely does exist. Just haven't really been in the area where it, like, don't go to the places where it increased likelihood.
Except to get married.
Why is that?
Well, that's what you're doing.
Yeah?
You're going to a haunted house to get married.
Yes. I honestly think that in that place, what I only think like a ghost would be there would be like just some guy sitting at a desk, like writing old-timey love letters. Just based on the rooms that I've seen. They have like really nice desks, and where people would write their ink letters.
What if you walk in and there's a guy hanging from a noose in the corner?
That won't happen.
He was like a businessman, and his business went under. Yeah. So let's have a tale from the tugboat. Let's get into the tugboat's ghost story that happened to him when he was impressionable in his teens.
Tales from the tugboat.
That's a good one. So when the tugboat was younger, because the tugboat will tell us in the third party person? I don't know. Tugboat.
Yeah.
So
fictional person.
A young tugboat grew up on an old farm. The farm wasn't actually that old. It was less than 100 years, but there was a family that lived there before Tugboat's family bought it. And, rumoredly there was an old lady that, like, the grandmother had died there and the grandfather had died there, of this kind of pioneer family. And their kids had farmed it for a while, and then the grandkids eventually didn't want to farm anymore, so they sold the farm. Now there was an old house that uh, was kind of back towards the back of the property, like well off the road, and the barn was close to it, and then there was a chicken house, and the house was abandoned, and like there was no furniture in it, and it was basically built exactly like the barn, but not straw and everything inside, so habitable, I guess you could say. And one night there was a fire, and some people will tell you that it was from a grass fire that had been on the go previously in the day. Some people will tell you that it was the devil trying to come onto the planet. Those people would be idiots, but the one way or the other, the house burned down, and nobody really can say how or why it burned down. It's kind of a spooky start, and then the little chicken house burned down, and instead of responsibly removing the structure and that kind of thing, they just kind of spread the ashes around. So for my whole childhood, whenever I would dig out towards the barn, you would dig up, and you would invariably dig up chicken bones, because there was a whole bunch of chickens in this chicken house when it burned, and they all burned to death. So there's just chicken bones everywhere, like within the top 6 inches of the soil surface.
Like this place was abandoned, but then there were still chickens in it?
Well, the house was abandoned, but we were still using the barn and the chicken house when I was a little kid. And then somehow the house burned down, and the chicken house, which was close to it, burned also, but they got the fire out before it spread to the barn.
Okay.
So anyways, chicken bones everywhere. But when the tugboat was about 13 or 14, maybe older than that, 15, who knows, started to have this dream, like in dreams there'd be like normal dream type atmosphere, and then all of a sudden out of like the shadows this lady would appear, and she wouldn't say anything. She would just kind of come out of the shadows and just look, stare at the tugboat, and then the tugboat would wake up in a cold sweat and panic. The lady was dressed in a very ornate purple Victorian dress, and I'm sure most of our dedicated listeners have heard this story from the tugboat, but it's kind of darkish hair, like not really. I don't really. The tugboat doesn't really remember the hair, but it was kind of tied back, like out of the face. It wasn't like hair hanging down or anything. The hair was up in some kind of updo, which apparently was the style at the time. And then like big black boots with like lace up the front, like the old Victorian looking style, and like buckles all up the front of the dress, super tight. Looking back and the memories the tugboat has of it, I have it. Might as well just break that third person rule. I think the chick was kind of hot, so if I wasn't paralyzed with fear, then I could have made some advances. But anyways, so I dreamed about this girl fairly, not every night, but fairly frequently. Probably like 50s, like 40s, 50s, like a mother type of figure.
Okay.
So I have these dreams, like, once every couple of months. Didn't really think anything of it, just like, oh, whatever. And then got a little older, got a little more responsibility, and had to go check the cows at night out in the barn. So the cows had to be checked every 2 hours in the dead of winter to make sure that if they were calving, they weren't alone for the night. So you had to kind of, if they were starting to calve, you had to stay out there and watch and make sure the birth went well, and that the mother took the calf and it didn't just walk away and leave it there to freeze to death, kind of thing, which happened more than once. So was going out at like 12, 2, 4, and 6, and then other people would take over for the rest of the time. And the lights on the outside of the barn were motion activated, so I'd always trick the dog into running out ahead to turn on the light. The upstairs of the barn was just, there was an open door. There's just no door on it, just an opening.
Yeah.
Pitch black, horrifying. Always avert your eyes. Never look directly into that just devil-scape. And then you go into the barn, and the switch for the lights was on the opposite side of the door. So you'd go in on the left side of the barn through the door, and then you'd have to walk all the way across to the right side to turn on the lights. Now you had a flashlight, but one time, and there was kind of like, there was no lights in the back, like the farthest away from the door. It was kind of darker there, and then there's an entrance for the cows to go outside. So I turned on the lights and then was looking around, looking for anybody having issues or calves, whatnot. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw the purple lady just. I don't know if I was just kind of half asleep, delirious, or if it was actually happening, but I saw her just exactly like in the dreams come out of the darkness, stand there, look at me, and then of course I just took off. I left the lights on. Just ran out of the barn, closed the door, ran back to the house, went in my room, turned on all the lights, turned on a movie, like a comedy, and I was fine, but it was a little scary. Didn't like going to the barn after that. Not that I liked going before that, but it's scary stuff.
Got a chill listening to the story. There's ghosts.
I didn't even tell it in a scary fashion. It was just the facts. So, that's a good tale from the Tugboat. We call that one the Purple Lady.
Makes sense.
But yeah,
that's
now
pretty terrifying. I was trying to do some research here on the internet about Purple Lady ghosts.
You would.
And didn't find anything. I didn't think there. I thought there was going to be like a thing about like, symbols and whatnot.
Nope, she's all mine. And when I get to the right age, her and I are gonna bang. I'll go back in February and just wait in the barn, no pants on, and just hope to God that we get a GJ going.
Because I think there's like a bunch of stuff about what's it called? Like there's a lot of stuff in Jungian dream psychology about the old hag. So like. Or like old lady dreams or something, so you would always you would get that.
She wasn't elderly. She was just kind of on the north side of middle aged.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is that like typically it's an older lady, so it doesn't really tie into that kind of stuff.
But I think that's. Do we have any other ghost things to touch on before we grill cheese?
I don't think. Oh yeah. I think this is kind of an interesting question. Something to kind of scratch your head at. If you were given the opportunity to haunt somebody, who would it be, and would you? And what would you do to haunt them?
For me, I don't think I would. Because, my own experience was unpleasant. So I think that I would not haunt someone, but if I had to haunt someone, I feel like I would do like the nice ghost thing and haunt someone I know, like one of my friends, and just kind of like either clean their house. Like I would probably haunt Brown, and I would just do his dishes or fold his laundry or something that I do anyways as when I'm alive. Just to kind of show him that I'm here, I'm still with you. Or if there's like something you like, I don't remember the show or the reference, but there was this one thing where like the brother would always like straighten his collar or tuck his handkerchief in, like some little personal thing, or like in the movie Face Off where John Travolta rubs the face and that's how he shows his wife that it's actually him. Some little personal gesture that you would do with someone that you care about, that would be the person I would haunt, and then I would do that to them so they'd know it was me and they wouldn't be afraid, kind of thing. But if I was maliciously haunting someone, I would haunt one of my enemies and I would just move shit around in their house. I would move tables and chairs, knock stuff over. Just, the basic horrifying ghost haunting. Walk around, loud footsteps, close and slam doors. Yeah, brutal. Just brutal stuff.
Yeah, like not anything
Not murderous or anything, but
or you're murderous, just kind of like, yeah, like the cold chill stuff or the creaking something or
yeah, to be mean.
yeah.
I would do it to be a jerk. That's ghost jerk. I guess that's another kind of jerk.
Paranormal jerk.
There it is.
That's pretty interesting because yeah, like I think you would yet to be seen. Like depending on how you died and stuff, you might have developed. Like if someone just kind of killed you in cold blood for no reason, you might be a little upset.
Or if some idiot cut me off on the highway and caused my death, I'd go right at that guy, guns blazing.
Yeah, exactly.
What about you?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, ideally, if you were to have to haunt someone, you would do it sort of nicely, and yeah, be able to like help them out somehow, or yeah, that kind of a haunting. But that's kind of the oxymoron, like a nice haunting. But yeah, I think I would do the exact same thing. Would do that. I think even maybe have fun with it, like dress myself up like an old timey person, even though I'm not. I'm assuming like ghosts can kind of shapeshift, or is that sort of a? Like, can I gather? Like, do I have like a nice ghost treasure chest full of different costumes and things like that to select from?
Like dildos?
No, it's not a pleasure chest, a treasure chest.
Sorry, I got confused.
Yeah. None of these. You're still on the GJs.
I'm locked into GJing with that purple lady.
Oh man, are you gonna use a purple dildo?
Two-sided one.
That's extremely weird. But yeah, it would definitely be like, yeah, maybe dress up in some old-timey costumes, or like you said, like just kind of move furniture around, or maybe like even super subtle. Like that just doesn't even make sense. Like why you would move something, or why you would misplace that, or whatever.
Yeah, like just turn one chair around for just to be weird. Like it would be like the ultimate December weird for me.
Yeah. I think I would probably also fiddle around with light bulbs. I think that gets people going pretty good.
You just walk out into a room and just fart, and then just walk out, or just like wait to see what would happen. Who blames who?
Fun.
That'd be pretty funny. If we were making a ghost comedy, I would definitely incorporate farting.
Yeah. Oh, it's like because sometimes when I think when you're with someone, typically if they're like female, and you just like start smelling something, and you know it's not you because you didn't do it, and you just kind of like ask them, and they're like, nope, and then you're like, ghost.
Oh, guess it was the dog.
Yep, just like one of those gassy spirits.
Oh, I like that. I like it a lot.
Silent and deadly, or the Deathly Hollows. Yeah, so like that's probably what I would go to. Yeah, I think it would have to be an enemy. I don't think I would do a random person. I don't think that's like a really good thing to do.
Unless you're like trapped at that location, like if you have to haunt that house and they move in and then you start messing with them.
Yeah.
So,
I'm just not like you guys. You can stay. I just wanted to have a little fun. Or
I'm sorry, baby.
Or like if you could choose, like haunt like some sort of historical site or something like that. That could be kind of helpful. Like
that'd be a hoot. Go and haunt the ACC or something like that. Get to watch all the Leaf games forever.
Yeah.
And then you become like the lovable kind of mascot of the place. I dig that. Anyways, let's we better time-wise we better get to a grill and cheese here.
Okay. Yeah, okay, go.
So let's grill and cheese. Cheese, talk to me about sleep paralysis.
This is the one thing that's gotten me pretty good. Sleep paralysis is a terrifying experience, where basically you dream of something terrifying, and then you wake up mentally, but your body is still entirely asleep, so you can't move at all, and it feels like there's like a really heavy weight or something on top of you, and you can't move, and you just had a terrifying experience in your dream. So it's just like the worst thing ever, like just not being able to move. It's kind of like the same, what do we talk about? It's like no one can hear you, or no one can see you, or you can't move. Like those things are all just terrifying. So my first experience was in university, in first year res, which is all the more terrifying because you're in like this prison cell. I was in this, at Guelph, I was in the place that was most,
Prisony?
Wasn't it after a prison? Like it was a prison plan.
Yeah.
And they're just like, no, we'll just make it a residence.
Yeah, it was a prison planner that they asked to make the residence.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, so it's just this terrifying thing, like cement walls and really tight quarters and weird balconies that don't make any sense. Like, they're not even a balcony. It's just like this, like, chamber. Like, it's kind of like in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the Wonkavator, but it doesn't go forwards or backwards or sideways or upwards or downwards. It's just this small, cramped space that's kind of outside the building, but not really. Like, one person could fit in it, and it's just like your connection to the outside. It makes no sense whatsoever. Maybe smokers use it. I don't know. So it has that. It's just a tiny, cramped little room. So I'm in there, and the first time I had it, and this is very distinct, I was dreaming this kind of, it's very ghostly, but I'm lying in my bed in residence, this is my dream, and I hear something. No, I hear my radio go on. Like I had a stereo, and it turns on, and it's just like kind of crackly and stuff, like no songs or anything, and I'm just like, what the hell, like I didn't turn that on. So I like get up, turn it off, go back to bed, and then it goes back on. And I'm like, what the hell? So I unplug it, and then I go back to bed, and then it comes on again. I'm like, what the hell? Yeah. So then I go, and I take the batteries out. I'm like, oh, silly, Kevin, it's powered on batteries. So then, yeah, it's a thing. And then so I take out the batteries, and then I go to bed, and then it turns on again. And I, like, lose it, and I, like, get up, and I open up the door into the hallway. And the way the residence worked is that there was doorways that you would have to open and then go up some steps, and then there would be a bunch of people's rooms.
Yep.
And then there would be more steps going up to the next level, and then a door. So I go out into this area, and I see the door below, like going to the level below, just swings open, and then you just kind of hear footsteps, but I can't, there's no one there. And then the one to go upstairs flings open, and then shuts on its own, so nobody's there. So I'm like just losing my shit. So I like go back into my room and like go under the covers and stuff, and then I just feel something like on top of me, like just sort of like a presence or a breeze or whatever, and then I like take the covers off of my face, and then there's just like this like alien demon thing like just right on top of my chest, and I like am like in my dream squirming around and like screaming, but like nothing comes out, like no sound comes out.
Oh.
And then I find, and like I can't breathe, and I'm like screaming, and there's no noise. So then I like wake up in my eyes, and I'm like still trying to scream and trying to move, but I can't because my body is paralyzed, and I'm just like sweating buckets, like my heart's beating, I can't breathe, I'm like gasping for air and stuff. And then you're just stuck there just lying. Like, I didn't, like, move around even immediately when I could. You're just sitting there and just trying to be like, what the fuck just happened? So that was the first experience. And I had a few after, but they didn't have the sort of, like, storyline that first one had. So I, like, went to the, like, school nurse person for something unrelated and just kind of off topic. You know how you do that when you're, like, embarrassed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I've got this friend.
he's not sleeping real good, right? He like wakes up but he can't move his body and stuff.
That's weird,
So
right?
I was going to get like some like cold medicine. I don't know what I was doing, but anyways, so like I slide that in there, and they're like, yeah, okay. So like, what are your like sleeping patterns? It's like, oh, well, I kind of go to bed at like 2 or 3 after watching tons of stuff on the computer, and then I always like it's like, oh, okay, and then I'm like, I also eat at like midnight, like really greasy things like pizza and poutine and stuff, and they were just like, yeah, you should probably like go to bed earlier and stop eating terrible things before you go to bed. And ever since then, I like really, I did do that. So ever since then, I haven't really had it happen. It still happens, but only when I'm lying on my back. These terrifying dreams only happen when I'm on my back, and these sleep paralysis only happens when I'm on my back, which is just super, super weird. I might have sleep apnea or something weird.
Maybe don't do that then.
Yeah, I sleep on
That
my
would
butt.
certainly explain the breathing is if you're on your back and your throat hole closed a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. But then in your dreams, they assume that's like someone being on top of you, like choking on you or sitting on your chest. And like, this isn't even like a recent thing. Like, there's tons of stuff in folklore, and you see paintings with like little demons sitting on your chest, or like an old hag, like friggin' visiting you in your dreams. So like way back when they thought it was
Well, yeah,
demons, but
that's terrifying because it's like a submissive position, and whoever's sitting on you has all the power. They can choke you to death or punch you in the face.
yeah, you can't move or scream or you're asleep and stuff. Ah,
Scary as balls.
super scary.
Wow.
So that's experience with sleep paralysis. So if anybody suffers from that, just don't sleep on your back and get some better sleep habits and don't eat terrible things before you go to bed.
So what causes it? Just your like the actual paralysis part. How does your brain wake up before your body?
Um, that's probably something I can't necessarily explain. Consciousness is one thing that's like really in need of a lot of research. Like some people try and tackle it, but it's just so difficult. They have different areas in your brainstem that sort of negotiate your consciousness. I think it's around your like thalamus and brainstem area, and they're really close together. And it's just like if one area is on and the other one's off, like you will not get any signals. I don't think like from your body or whatever to be able to initiate some movements. But then the other part is active, so you do become conscious. It's this weird in between, like awake and sleep state. But yeah, it's just basically your consciousness turns on before your body turns on, which is super weird.
It's kind of scary stuff. I think we'll close it there because I'm getting terrified. I need to go watch some comedy videos or something. I don't like sleep paralysis. Scares me. I hope I never have to deal with that. And I do eat late often, but I do go to bed super early, so I guess they cancel out.
Yeah.
But
it also happens a lot. I found it happened a lot when I would take like naps because I was just exhausted. Like, those naps where you drool as well.
Oh yeah.
So is that.
I'm headed towards one of those hopefully this afternoon.
Nice. I gotta do that too.
Or whatever time of day it is that we do these.